Chinese medicine is nearly as old as civilization itself. The oldest recorded medical text is the Wangde Neijing, or Canon of Medicine, written about 500 to 300 BC. This timeless tome articulates the relationship between philosophy and medicine. Modern acupressure, a gentle, non-invasive derivation of acupuncture, has its roots in ancient Chinese philosophy. Three underlying principles guide classic Chinese philosophy: yin and yang, the five elements, and qi. Yin and yang are forces that influence all areas of life. One cannot exist without the other. The five elements, wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, are the building blocks of the human body, and indeed of all matter. Qi is energy. There is yin energy and yang energy. There is wood, fire, earth, metal, and water energy. When yin and yang and the five elements are in balance, in harmony, there is health. When they are out of balance, there is illness. The purpose of acupressure is to restore and maintain that balance. Acupressure has been used successfully for thousands of years to relieve pain, tension, and many other common ailments. In ancient China, practitioners charged for their services only as long as their patients remained healthy. If their patients became ill, they worked to restore balance and accepted payment only when health was restored. Despite its ancient origins, acupressure is timely today. At a time when conventional Western medicine is increasingly called into question and people take more personal responsibility for their health, acupressure emerges as a self-help measure within the reach of many. Unlike acupuncture, acupressure uses no needles, and so is ideal for those who wish to manage their own health care. It is a readily accessible pathway to health. Substituting thumb or finger pressure for the hair-thin needles of acupuncture, acupressure is applied to specific points along energy pathways in the body called meridians. The purpose of the pressure is to release qi trapped in various places in the body, and ultimately to restore balance and health. Teresa Girolami is co-founder of Sage House Herb Company, a wellness and learning center where she practices acupressure and acupuncture, moxibustion, Reiki, and aroma and herbal therapies. She began her exploration of herbs and alternative health care over 30 years ago. Teresa worked in radiation oncology for 14 years at Johns Hopkins and University of Maryland. In 1989, she contracted an illness that did not respond to Western medicine. When she found relief in acupuncture, she decided to move from her Western medicine roots to traditional Chinese medicine. She became certified in acupuncture and joined the staff at the Traditional Acupuncture Institute, where she taught for 5 years until Sage House demanded all of her time.
When I was a little girl, I would massage my mother's legs and feet to help bring down swelling. This was very effective for her, and she often referred to me as her little healer. This also encouraged me to study self-healing techniques. One technique that I've studied and I use in my practice is acupressure. Acupressure is a safe enjoyable, effective technique that can be used by or for anyone, even children. Acupressure uses qi or energy that flows through meridians in the body. Qi moves through the body along energy pathways called meridians. There are 14 primary meridians named for the organ or the function that they are associated with, such as the stomach or the spleen. Acupressure points are named by their position on the meridian, such as heart 7 or colon 4. Points frequently have very poetic names, such as happy calm, amidst elegance, and bubbling springs. Bubbling springs is a point that gets massaged every time you walk. That's because it's on the bottom of your foot. It is very useful for depression. In this program, I will be demonstrating techniques for various symptoms. We will begin at the head and move down through the body. Often, the corresponding treatment point is some distance from where the symptom is felt. All of us are interested in improving the integrity of the facial muscles, both men and women. This is a nice routine that you can use morning and evening at home, both men and women. We're going to use Deanna as our model today in demonstrating the points. So we're going to come around here and we're going to start with the points on the face that you would use AM or PM, starting at a point on the brow, on the bladder meridian, on both sides. This is bladder 2, and you would apply light pressure in the middle, anywhere from 10 to 60 seconds. The next point in the series that you would be using would be from the center of the eye with looking forward, and that would be right over the ridge of the brow. That's gallbladder 14. And moving to the ridge here, off the orbit, coming down about a half of an inch in the first depression, gallbladder 1, following the ridge of the orbit to the center of the cheek, stomach 2, a point on the large intestine meridian right off the nose on either side. This is large intestine 20. And you would always use light pressure on the face because the face muscles and the tissues in the face are very delicate. You don't want to cause any bruising. And then we're going to move to a point off the corner of the mouth on either side. This is stomach 4. Again, 10 to 20 seconds, 10 to 30 seconds, light pressure. The conception vessel, 24, right in the depression of the chin. And as we follow the chin line at the angle, we come up to a depression on either side on the stomach meridian. Okay, and then we're going to come up following the ear to a point about 1 inch in, again on the stomach meridian, number 8. And then just drag your finger up here. Okay, light pressure. And grabbing the back of the neck as your hands come around, right at the base of the skull, about 1 inch from the center on each side in this depression. That's gallbladder 20. Hold, and then release. A good way to start this routine would be with a facial and a nice neck massage because the neck muscles are also connected to the face, and relieving tension in this area relieves tension in the face.
One of the aims of the ancient Chinese art of Tai Chi is to foster the circulation of qi in the body. Chinese medicine holds that qi, or qi, is our life essence, a vital force that maintains and nurtures our bodies, minds, and spirits. It is the source of life, inspiration, and action. Qi enters our bodies from the universe with our first breath and returns to the universe with our last gasp. It is in constant motion through our cells, tissues, and organs. Qi circulates in patterns that are similar to the nervous and vascular systems, and thus the notion is closely connected with the practice of acupuncture and other Oriental healing arts.
Because acupressure is applied with the thumb or the fingers, it is very important to keep your nails short so that you don't cut or bruise the skin. If you keep your fingernails long, use knuckle pressure. The duration of treatment should run 30 to 60 seconds, applying firm pressure, but not causing pain. A lot of times a simple technique for when we have a toothache or jaw pain, we can use a point right on the earlobe. For lower toothache or upper toothache, we would squeeze a point here or just slightly above that. And then we can move to a point on the foot on the stomach meridian, stomach 44, which is right here. Just follow the toe up, and just as it joins the foot, you're right in here applying pressure. Some of the points that we're going to talk about on the face that I'm going to demonstrate, one would be for tension, would be stomach 4, off the corner of the mouth, and then a depression on both sides. If you have a runny nose or there's itching in the face, we would use a point off the large intestine meridian called welcome fragrance, large intestine 20, and that's easily found as the nose flares out, the widest point, and you just drop into a point right here on either side of the nose. For pain in the face, you can use stomach 6 as it comes around on the face, 4, 5, 6. On both sides.
Yin and Yang. We see this symbol everywhere, but what does it really mean? In classic Chinese philosophy, Yin and Yang are forces in opposition. They are interdependent. They consume each other, and they transform into each other. Yin is feminine, Yang masculine. Yin is water, Yang is fire. Yin is night, yang day. The contrasting dot within each represents the contrasting elements of the other contained within. Yin and yang describe the cyclical nature of energy and life.
Greg, what we're going to talk about now, and using your body as a demo, is points that affect areas on the head and the face and the neck. One of the first points that we'll talk about that affects the eyes is a point on the foot. It's on the liver meridian, and the liver meridian comes up to the chest and internally goes to the head. And that's used for itchy eyes, watery eyes, dizziness, vertigo, ringing in the ears, a lot of different things. So one of the things we're going to do is have you sit up, and we'll point to that point again. And that point is in here. It's the third point on the liver meridian, with the first being here, the second here, and right in this little crotch. If you walk your finger up, you can press with a hand, or you can press with your heel. Another point that's quite useful for headache is on the gallbladder meridian, and it's at the base of the skull and in this channel right here, and that's gallbladder 20. And if you'll give me your hand, you can press right in here. Another useful point for headaches, also dizziness. It's also useful for hemorrhoids, picking things up in the body. Prolapsed uterus is a point that's on the top of the head, and the easiest way to find this point is to take a hand to the back and the front, find this point in the center, and move forward to your first indentation, and that is Governor 20. And if you'll give me your hand, we'll show you how to do that. One hand on the front, on top, one hand on the back of the head, finding this point and moving forward about 1 inch. Take your finger, and there you are. And a point here, yin tong, for insomnia, headaches, neurasthenia, and you can find that very easily if you come across the brow and in the center, and you can just apply a little pressure. Another useful point for headaches, things that affect the head, again, in the fingers here, the thumb and the first finger. And if you'll give me your thumb and press, and you can do that on both sides. We can have headaches that are associated with heat, where we feel flushed in the face, we feel generalized warmth in the body. And one of the points that we can use to change temperature in the body is a point on the colon meridian. It's the 11th point, and this point is, as you see the crease on the skin, drop down into the first depression after that. Here, and then I'll show you on the other side. As you follow the crease, you fall into this depression, and you'll press into the arm. This also affects cold in the body as well as warmth, if you're overly cold or you're overly warm.
The flow of energy in the body is sometimes blocked. This results in trapped energy, causing pain or discomfort. The cause of trapped qi is usually physical. Energy may be trapped as a result of a trauma or blow. Just as the air in this balloon can be moved from place to place, qi can be released or dispersed by the judicious application of pressure in the appropriate places.
Most of the acupressure points will be found by using a Chinese unit of measurement called a Chinese acupressure inch or an acupressure Chinese inch. These inches are based on body size and shape, and they vary from individual to individual.
A lot of things that can be taken care of at home that involve the throat and the chest, we can show now, or I can teach you now. So if you'll sit up and take your shirt off, we will demonstrate those points. Okay, have a seat. Come back down. A lot of times if we have a sore throat where we get laryngitis and we lose our voice, an appropriate point would be right in the sternum, right in here. If you come across the top of the clavicle on both sides, then just fall into this natural groove, CV23, and you can find that very easily yourself, either dragging your finger across the clavicle or just finding the notch right in the middle. Another one for sore throat is if you come halfway on this bone, so this would be the end point here at the notch, and then the other end point here, and you'll be using stomach 12, CV23 and stomach 12, both appropriate for sore throat. Another point, which is not on the chest, on the arm for chest problems, would be lung 6, which you divide the arm in half and then you come up 1 Chinese inch. An easier way to do that would be to use a string, and that is 12 Chinese acupuncture inches from the wrist crease to the elbow crease. And you will take that, fold it in half. That gives you 6 ACI, acupuncture Chinese inch, and you will divide that in half. That's 3, and 1.5, and drop back just a bit, and you're in lung 6, which is at 7 ACI. A very good combination of points to use for breathing problems. Very useful in asthma would be a point on the wrist. It's another lung point, and you would find this by shaking hands, and your thumbs are locked. You put your finger down in the lung canal and press down. That's lung 7, and you can press on that one. Okay, and a point that's useful in combination with that would be a point on the kidney meridian, and kidney meridian is on the leg, and that would be kidney 6, if you'll bend up your leg for me. And kidney 6 is just off the tip of the tibia. Just slightly in that little groove. And both of those points, lung 6 and kidney 7, can be used at the same time. And you could have a partner do this for you, or you could do, again, press with your heel against that point and use your finger on that point. And the quintessential point for phlegm in the body, when you're really, really stuffed up, that you can use a point on your leg, halfway between the knee crease and the elbow, and you come up the stomach meridian, off the shin, halfway through, and you'll come over the muscle, and the first indentation or hole that you fall into, that's stomach 40, halfway between and over the muscle into this point, stomach 40, the quintessential phlegm point. I don't know about you, but every once in a while if I drink a little bit too much coffee, I might have little butterflies in my chest, and they're called palpitations. Anybody in your family that has palpitations, you can help them with these 2 points that we're going to show next. If you would just sit up for me. Okay. And these are on the wrists. Okay. One is what we call the pericardium meridian. Pericardium 6 is here between the two tendons. Heart 7 in this groove, just around the finger-like projection of the pisiform bone. There's a tiny little bone. Here and here. Here and here for palpitations. If you had palpitations with a little bit of fever and sweating, you would go up 2 fingers in that same groove in the pericardium meridian and press here. This is also useful for if you're ever at sea and you feel seasick, great point. If you're pregnant, which you wouldn't be, it's great for nausea and vomiting for pregnant women. It's a point not to be used after the 4th month, though. That's very important. After the 4th month, you'd go to a point that we showed in another area, the stomach meridian, stomach 36.
Touch comes in all shades and flavors, and all kinds have a profound impact on the quality of life. The warm and loving touch of a parent for their child nourishes and fosters a secure environment. Holding hands communicates affection and warmth. Shaking hands with a business acquaintance speaks of trust. And some say, life itself began with touch.
Many times to enhance our well-being, we will do that for a partner, or we need a partner to get to the points that we can't get. And what I'd like to show you guys is how to measure for Chinese inches. And we use our string to measure for Chinese inches. On the arm we have 12. Okay, at the wrist crease is our starting point. And the elbow crease is the ending point. So for Greg, that's 12 acupuncture Chinese inches. Fold that in half. That will give us 6. Folding that in half again will give us 3. And then half of that again would be 1.5. Some of the points that we're using here would be at the wrist crease, heart 7, heart 6, and heart 5 at 1.5. Now for the measurements on the leg, the inside of the leg is 15 Chinese inches, and on the outside, because the fibula is a little bit longer, it's 16 Chinese inches. So we'll measure that, and we just happen to have a string that's long enough for Greg's leg. So if you'll straighten out your leg, and Deanna, will you hold his foot, please? There we go. So starting from the ankle, the highest point of the ankle, right here, we'll place our string down, and then at the knee crease, bend your leg slightly. Okay, straighten it out. We have 15 Chinese inches. So at the ankle crease to the knee crease, we have 15 Chinese inches.
Okay, so that's Greg's. And again, you would, if you wanted to find a point in the middle, you would take the string and measure 15 Chinese inches split in half, which would be 7.5. And if you needed to find something smaller, 3 3/4, and so forth. Now on the outside of the leg, we'll use Deanna's leg, which will be a little bit shorter, and we'll have Greg do that, starting at the ankle as 0 point, and right at the high point, and coming up to the knee at the knee crease. And you can actually find that knee crease by where the femur ends and the lower leg ends. Measuring ACI, or acupuncture Chinese inches on the body, will differ from body to body. My ACI is going to be different than Greg's ACI, and yours is going to be different from mine and Greg's. One ACI is a thumb. Now, Greg, if you hold your thumb up, Greg's thumb is 1 ACI for his body. My thumb is 1 ACI for my body. And Deanna's is 1 ACI for her body. And if you look at the difference in size, there's a major change. So when you're measuring on Deanna's body, most of the time you're going to use Deanna's hands or the string as we showed to measure. Again, 3 ACI would be 4 finger widths. And if you'll hold your hand up, 3 ACI is different on Greg. And it's different on Deanna. And 1.5 ACI would be 2 fingers. On the forehead, when you're measuring ACI, from the hairline to the brow is 3 ACI. From the hairline to the brow is 3 ACI.
Qi is the energy that keeps our bodies going and going. Qi can be maintained and increased by activating energy centers and addressing lifestyle factors. Deficient Qi is caused by such things as overwork, too much sex, too many pregnancies too rapidly, dietary insufficiencies, and alcoholism. Some people simply don't have enough energy to meet their daily needs. Symptoms of Qi deficiency include deficient blood, pale skin, pale tongue, irritability, depression, physical weakness, and ultimately, burnout.
Deanna, I don't know about you, but there are many times over the holidays with rich family meals or going to a restaurant, eating more than we would like to, but the food was so good we ate it anyway. We come back and we may have a little bit of indigestion. And there's a point on the abdomen, CV12, that is very useful for relieving indigestion or that kind of bloated feeling. And it's easy to find. If you'll take the side of your hand, place it on your abdomen, and drop it down, right where your hand ends here, in the middle, is a point. And if you apply pressure to this point, CV12, you can use that for relief. Again, with that point, you can add in a point on the stomach meridian, on either side of the umbilicus, right off of the abdominal muscle. And you will apply pressure here and here. This is CV12, this is stomach 25. There's a point that we have down here on the lower leg, and if you'll sit up, and how you find this point is come off the side of the tibia, the shin bone, and as it begins to flare out and become a large bone that's a part of your knee, it's found in that depression, and you would use that on both sides. And another easy way to find that is to take your hand and take your largest finger and just come down over the knee, and there's the point. And that's stomach 36. Many women today have menstrual cramps, PMS, or other types of menstrual disorders. And I'm going to help Deanna find those points on her abdomen, and we'll do some points on her legs, and we'll be moving down the body. Again, we'll be using the side of your hand. Okay, on this way, you'll drop down in that direction, and you'll use a point right here, CV4, and you can press for cramps. One of the next points that's easy to find is again on your leg. And as we move down to your leg, if you'll sit up and we'll demonstrate that point, you'll take your hand, either hand, and you'll take your baby finger, drop your hand down, and it will be your hand size. And across the bone, you'll just drop off the bone into a depression, and you'll hold pressure there. That is spleen 6. And it's about 3, what we call ACI, acupuncture Chinese inch, on either side. And while we're down here, another point that we're going to use is liver 3. And you can either use thumb pressure or heel pressure. At the same time, you can use a point here, which is also beneficial in this depression, and press with your thumb. This is large intestine 4. These points used together are called the 4 gates. And then you would switch, and you could use pressure here, and then there.
The Earth seeks and maintains energy balance in its own dramatic way. When energy builds up in the Earth to an unhealthy level, the Earth moves the excess energy to a place where the energy level is lower. Wind is caused by local temperature differences seeking balance. Rain is the result of an excess of moisture in the atmosphere. Lightning is the discharge of excess energy from the Earth to the atmosphere. All of these phenomena restore balance to the energy system in the Earth. Acupressure will help to achieve the same balance in your body.
A nice thing to do when someone has cramps is to use moxa. Moxa is a Chinese herb that is the Artemisia vulgaris plant that I use in my practice all the time. And we use that to warm and nourish the points concerned. Sometimes cramps are caused by cold in the abdominal area or cold in the uterus. So what we're going to do today is to warm up Deanna's uterus. Okay. And the way that we do this is we take the plant and we make little cones and we place it in the area of interest. And ignite the top. When you feel warmth, let me know and I'll take it off. All you have to do is say off.
Sometimes energy flows the wrong direction in the body. Symptoms of this wayward flow of qi include hiccups, sneezing, coughing, vomiting, and diarrhea. These responses are the body's natural attempt to eject something that does not belong in or agree with the body, to correct some situation. Acupressure, to redirect the energy to the proper path, can speed up this process.
Most of the points that you will be using are very easy to find, and you can use them any place, anytime. For instance, if you had a frontal headache, you could use yin tong, which is in the middle of the forehead between the eyebrows. If you had a tension headache or you were constipated, you could use colon 4, which is between the thumb and the next finger. If you were going out to lunch and you wanted to suppress your appetite, you could use pericardium 6, which is 2 fingers up from the wrist crease in the center. If you forgot to use that, you could use CV12 for overindulgence, which is 4 fingers up from the navel in the center.
You're telling me earlier that you were having some problems with your neck, having a little bit of tension. And what I'd like to do is ask you to roll over and we'll look at some areas on your back. These areas could be anywhere in the body. They're called tender or ashi points. And ashi points loosely translate as, that's it, that's it. So if you'll flip over for me, we'll look at the areas that are giving you some tension. It's hard being a star, isn't it? Okay, so you were talking about earlier in here?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I walk my fingers around,
Right
are there right there are 2 ashi points? So I would hold these points or press these points or put my knuckle into one of these points until you had some relief. And you do have a little bit of tightness. One of the things that we look for here are pea-sized gravel. That would be an indication that something would be going on in the musculature when you have tension. And what you could do is just run your fingers over an area that would have pain or was tight. And then when you found that area, you could just apply pressure for 30 to 60 seconds. And you could do it a number of times. Just hold it in place and until you feel some of the pressure easing up. You could work in a whole area if you couldn't find one particular place and just apply pressure, hold, and release.
Focus, concentration, visualization. These are elements that contribute to positive results. This is no less true for us than for the archer. If we see ourselves as powerful, successful, and healthy, we will be. If, on the other hand, we perceive ourselves to be weak and sick, we will be that too. Verbal affirmations can help to reinforce our innate healing powers. Visualization of the energy flowing in our bodies can promote that flow and reduce the time necessary for healing. So think healthy, see yourself happy, and prosper.
While we're at your back, Greg, what we'll talk about are some things that are related to chronic and acute low back pain. So one of the things that I would like to do is talk about how you would find some of the points for treating that. Now, of course, you would need a partner to help you with this, or you could just reach around and grab those points yourself. So one of the things that you would do for finding bladder 23 is first find the top of the hip bone. Okay, and then you would place your fingers at the very top of the hip bone and come up one hand. And then in between that space, you should also be finding the bottom of the ribs. You'll come across your back, find the center of your back at that level, and come out about 3 finger widths. And press down on a point on either side. And you should drop right into bladder 23. Another useful point, if you would come down and right at the line on the buttocks where, if you were wearing briefs, in the center of the, follow the center of the cheek, and in this crease, there's a point, bladder 50, that's also very beneficial for pain. And that is right here or here. Another point as you're moving down the body, if you bend your knee, in the middle of the knee at the crease, bladder 54, very, very useful. And if you'll press against my hand, as if you're stepping on the accelerator in the car with your foot, your toes, just follow the center of the gastrocnemius, and you'll find bladder 54. Relax. And all of those are useful at any time for low back pain.
Traditional Chinese medicine recognizes 5 elements in the universe. They are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. Each has various characteristics associated with it. Water's season is winter. It is associated with conception, birth to 20 years of age, and its emotion is fear. Water's meridians are bladder and kidney. Wood season is spring, representing birth. Ages 20 to 40 and anger are associated with wood. Its meridians are gallbladder and liver. Fire is the element of summer, maturation, laughter, sadness, and ages 40 to 60. Its meridians are small intestine, heart, pericardium, and triple heater. Earth is associated with late summer, harvest, sympathy, and ages 60 to 80. Earth meridians are stomach and spleen. Metal is the element of autumn, ages 80 to 100, and decline. Its emotional association is grief. The meridians associated with metal are lung and colon.
A very easy way to help someone move through anxiety is to go to what is called source points. Every meridian has a source point, and we're going to show those points, starting with the feet and the legs, and then moving up to the points on the hands and the arms. So if you'll extend your leg for us, please, Greg. One of the points on the kidney meridian that is a source point is kidney 3, and that's easily found. And this portion of the leg is called the medial malleolus. And you come to the high point of the malleolus, drop over, and you're in the channel of the kidney meridian, and you'll drop into the first hole, or depression, and that is kidney 3. And if you'll switch legs, we'll show its partner on the water meridians. moving from the last point on the bladder meridian, bladder 67, 66, 65, bladder 64, and that's found on the soft tissue just as the tissue changes color from the bottom of the foot and before you get to this next bone. And it's in this depression. And we're going to switch partners. And Deanna. When you're working on the wood element, the points that you're going to be using would be on the gallbladder and the liver. And the point on the liver is in this depression between the great toe and the next toe, liver 3. And we'll switch. And the point on the gallbladder meridian is visualized by just slightly turning the ankle in this depression at the base of the lateral malleolus and in front of the tendon that runs down into the foot. So you're going to come down and up. Moving to the earth meridians, the point that we're going to use for the stomach is found by taking your hand, bringing it as if you had a slipper on, moving up here, and coming to a point in the middle. You're using the ankle crease, and you're using your hand just slightly over the toes so that it would appear that you were wearing a slipper. And between this point where my hand is resting and the ankle crease is stomach 42. And you would apply pressure there. And switching legs so we can see the spleen meridian. And the spleen meridian source point that we're going to be using is spleen 3. And this is very easily found. If you will find the edge of the bone, the phalange of the foot, and as you come around the ball of the great toe, right in this little cranny here. So you're coming up until you meet bone, and you're coming around until you meet bone, and that's spleen 3. Let's go back to Greg and show some points on the wrist in the fire meridians and the metal meridians. The points that we're going to show here are very easily found. Heart 7, pericardium 7, those are 2 of the fire meridians. A point on the wrist for the matching source point for the heart is the small intestine meridian, and that's small intestine 4. And then the point for the triple burner, and if you'll just lightly wrap your hand like so and relax your wrist. There's a slight indentation in the wrist where the bones of the hand meet the bones of the arm, and that's triple burner 4. And then working with the metal meridians, the source points would be lung 9 and large intestine 4. You can use points on the feet, points on the wrist. Most of the points that we use in acupuncture and acupressure are used from the elbow crease to the fingertips, and the knees to the toes. Those are the 5 element points. They're the most powerful points in the body.
Intimacy is an important part of our relationships. But for many of us, the pressures and demands of daily life cause great stress and fatigue. We are less likely to engage in or enjoy intimacy if we don't have enough energy or are distressed and distracted. Acupressure can improve energy flow and promote relaxation. Being energetic, relaxed, and present for your partner and yourself can dramatically improve the quality of intimacy.
I like to call this romancing the meridians. And what we're going to see is how to increase energy and enhance endurance and sexual pleasure. We've already taken our rings off because we don't want to bruise anybody. The 3 meridians that run up the inside of the leg are the liver, the kidney, and the spleen. These are all yin meridians. These all feed directly into the pelvic area. And what you're going to do is roll your hand, and you're going to slightly come up the meridian, lightly come up the meridian, light pressure to moderate pressure. Okay, and you would continue all the way up into the groin area. Okay, let's switch partners' legs. And what we're doing here is bringing the energy up from these meridians into the pelvic area to increase stamina, endurance, and increase pleasure. And this would be repeated on both legs, and you could do this for about 10 minutes on each partner.
The World Health Organization has defined health as the absence of disease. While that's certainly desirable, it is no longer sufficient. To be happy, to be healthy, to be whole, it is important to maintain proper energy balance. It is no longer an option to turn your health care over to others. Acupressure is a tool that you can use to maintain your health and your energy and the energy and health of those that you love.